Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to lucky number 7 of Drawing on Shakespeare. I'm Austin Tichenor from the Reduced Shakespeare Company.
And I'm Gary Andrews, otherwise known as Gary Scribbler from sort of everywhere all over the internet.
And we are very lucky today to join us today because we've got a genuine hero, and I'm going to give him the proper introduction he deserves. Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the Sonnet Man.
Hey.
How's everyone? How you doing? Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Oh, good to see your face after all this time. Oh, I need to finish the intro. Who as Devon Glover, mild-mannered actor, poet, writer, teacher, mathemagician, spreads the love of truth, fights for truth, justice, and the Shakespearean way. Devon, it's so good to see you, man.
Thanks for having me. It's always great to see you, Austin.
And
thanks for
Devon,
having me.
Gary, Devon.
Wonderful to meet you.
Great to meet you.
So,
Heard about your work, Gary.
Oh,
Thanks for
bless you.
having me on your show. I appreciate it.
I've heard your dulcet tones on the podcast before. It's nice to put a face to the voice.
Yes, likewise. It's great to collaborate with you, brother.
Devon, how you are usually touring out, spreading the Shakespeare love to schools and venues all over the country and kind of the world. But you're stuck at home like all of us are now. How is your work changing? Are you getting a lot of writing and recording done? How are you an MC Bard surviving the lockdown?
Well, luckily a lot of more sonnets have been completed. More work has been done. I have completed one of my I would call it like a skit play. I've been commissioned to write a few adaptations of Shakespeare's plays. So I've completed 2 of them, as well as written one for high schools called Spectacular Vernacular. So yes, a lot of music has been recorded. A lot of script has been written. A lot of soliloquies have been modernized and adapted. Animation has been entered into my pool. Yeah, just and a lot of master classes. This is luckily, I usually, I'm usually traveling, to at least 250 days throughout the year. So to have this time to actually sit and actually collect my thoughts and organize myself and be stationary and actually take some classes rather than teach classes. I'm still teaching though, but just virtually now. So now I can teach and then, teach in a Zoom meeting and then hop in another Zoom meeting and learn something. So the adjustment has been it's still going. I'm very road sick though.
I bet. I love spectacular vernacular. Is that what first drew you to Shakespeare? Just that the love and the joy of that kind of language? Oh
yes, his language. When I first heard Shakespeare, when I first read Shakespeare, the way it was presented. First off, my introduction to Shakespeare was King Lear, and as a teenager, I as much as I like Shakespeare, I wouldn't introduce students with King Lear. But when I started realizing that a lot of artists, a lot of rap artists, use quotes and they would use quotes and idioms that were created by Shakespeare, and then I always saw these connections between his language and the language of hip hop. That's what actually brought me to Shakespeare's work and his words. And spectacular vernacular is what I think of the MC. I think the MC is the lyricist of all lyricists. And I think Shakespeare, if he was alive, he would fit right into that realm. Whether he was still a writer, I think we could put on a beat and he would be able to write. I believe The Tempest would be Hamilton, the prequel. So yeah. That's kind of what I think of whenever I hear Shakespeare.
I love that. I love it. You're sort of literally sampling Shakespeare in a hip hop sense, and I've never
Oh
thought of what
yes,
we do as what the Reduced Shakespeare Company as sampling, but it is. We're sort of taking these nuggets and then turning them into different things.
yes, and what I like about Shakespeare is, even though even Shakespeare's work was inspired, like the stories that he wrote were inspired by previous stories. It's just a matter of, his just stood the test of time, and everybody's shows are an inspiration of other shows. When I was writing Spectacular Vernacular, I've been inspired from all the different Shakespearean adaptations, including your show, including the Reduced Shakespeare's Company show, the Long Lost Play. I've taken bits and pieces from that, and also obviously from Shakespeare, from the hip hop songs that I grew accustomed to, and I've been listening to the jazz songs I've been listening to. You get art inspires art, so that's sort of the another connection that I have with Shakespeare. And I want to be one of the people just like Shakespeare, just like yours. In our Shakespeare world, we sort of we stand out because our work, our art, compared to other adaptations and other productions, stands the test of time. Just like how Shakespeare stood the test of time. I want to leave a message, leave a legacy for arts and for education.
And also, he was taking an established art form that was out there, and he was twisting it and turning it and creating it anew and making it his own, wasn't he? He took the verse patterns of the time and turned them into new music. I mean, he found, and this is what both of you guys do. You're taking stuff that's art forms that are out there, but you're putting your twist on it and making it stand out. So you are definitely doing what he did. I mean, that's
exactly. And to go back to Spectacular Vernacular, I mean, I know this is not true, but it seems like before Shakespeare began, it was like only 100 words, 100 words in the vocabulary until he started adding prefixes and suffixes, and then rearranging letters,
making shit up.
Exactly, and making this a whole new meaning. That's the same thing that we do in this neighborhood. The word brick could mean something based on the weather. It could mean something that we're using to create to build, to make a building. Like there's some, we'll take one word and it'll have so many different meanings that we created that connects to our audience, our listeners. That's the same thing that Shakespeare also did. That's sort of that's another connection that I have with him and his use of language.
Brilliant.
What I love that you dubbed him MC Bard, and
Yes.
and you also pointed out to me once before is that he invent, or he certainly popularized the word swagger.
Swagger, yes.
It's
Swagger
such a hip
is
hop term, and it's great. I love that it comes directly from him.
It comes from him, and that's sort of what I like that. When I first started teaching Shakespeare, I mean, swagger has turned into, we use different words now. Swagger is still a popular word, but swagger was the it word. And I never forget when I first started, and I like the surprise factor. I like the wow factor with my students. So I would come in there shirt and tie. They won't expect a hip hop performance there. So they'll say, I have no swag. I have no swagger. I'll immediately ask them, who in here, by raising hand, who in here thinks they have swagger? Who in here parents thinks their parents have swagger? All right, if you ever heard that, you need to thank Shakespeare for that. And then you can see their faces like, what? Like, I say, yes, Shakespeare created that. If it wasn't for Shakespeare, what would you be saying? Yeah, Shakespeare used swagger, okay? And then also it gets them to even just start doing research to figure out, where did he use it? That's another way of just getting them piquing the interest of for students to Shakespeare.
I love it. Do you he wrote so much in famously iambic pentameter. Is that a rhythm and a meter that you use? Do you find yourself trying to stick to that, or not worrying about it and kind of going away from iambic pentameter?
Well, when I write my work, I usually, like, if I have like a pattern, depending on the metrical foot and the metrical line. Sometimes I'll try to stay with that pattern. I like to use iambic tetrameter, iambic pentameter. Whenever I'm writing my own work, it's a multitude of patterns. When I'm writing Shakespeare or when performing Shakespeare, I try to keep the syllables in an iambic pattern, but the lines could be tetrameter, septameter. Like it all depends on what I'm saying, or if I'm trying to speed it up, if I'm trying to slow it down and speed it up. But there's so many different patterns and cadences that you can use when writing.
Devon, how do you feel about being put on the spot and giving a small example of the change from pentameter to tetrameter? Just a little snippet of something.
Right. So
some people might be going, what does he mean by that? If you could give an example, that'd be amazing.
So, all right, I'll do septameter. Pardon my accent, but this is 7 lines. So I have an assembly also for younger students where I'm rapping about Shakespeare. And this is a song called Thank You, Will. And it's basically the story about Will, but it has a pattern to it, and it's in iambic septameter, right? So it's it's uneven actually. It's uneven. So it goes, once upon a time, long ago, there was a young man with the goal to be the best writer ever known and write the best stories ever told. Last name Shakespeare, first name Will. Only Will knew he had this skill to create a piece that's amazing every time he picked up his quill. Whether in verse or writing in prose, he mastered every style he chose. Started in Stratford, then on the road, moved to London and made the globe. He wrote stories and made new words. Shakespeare's work was meant to be heard. He found ways to make language cool. We even read his plays in school. So that's just the first verse, but that's for younger students. I don't want to say it's slowed down, a little more simplified, and then I pick it up when I start rapping the sonnets. There's more syllables. That means they have to be more receptive to how I present it. So yeah, and that's the first verse from Thank You Will. Appreciate it.
I love that. I find myself because we write a lot of the RSE stuff in some of it in verse, and I find myself drawn to septameter too, 7 feet of 2 syllables. So it's 14 total. I mean, I wrote a line once, I do not care to speak in verse, nor do I wish to try. I love that rhythm comically. It's a very fun rhythm.
Yes. I believe the witches. They mix in septameter or hexameter. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the cloudy air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is in septameter, yes. So yeah, this part. That's when I remember when I seen that the fact that was in a meter was amazing, and it wasn't in iambic pentameter. So that's another thing I like about Shakespeare is different character based on the scene, based on the character. That's how the cadence and how that character speaks. The lower the class, they speak in prose. There's less rhymes, there's less rhythm. The higher in class, the more rhythm, the more rhymes are introduced. I love the fact that when Romeo and Juliet meet in a dance, it's a duet, it's a sonnet, it's a song. It's basically Peaches and Herb, right? They're basically singing. So I like the fact that he includes that. And for me, who have a low attention span in theater and movies, just listening to the rhythm and the cadence in the theater or in movies, that keeps me interested. I know everybody have different triggers or different interests whenever watching arts. That's my trigger.
Cool. Well, that's great too. I mean, Shakespeare knew how to mix it up, right? All of his shows are his version of a playlist. So you want to, you want to go high here and low here and fast here and soft here.
You get a lot of it in the dream. You get the load. You get rhyming couplets. You get shorter verse things. He even takes the piss out of other type of verse in the play within the play, and it's fantastic. It just chops and changes all the way through.
Exactly.
And now I totally want to see a production of Macbeth with rapping witches.
In spectacular vernacular, my based on the scene of Spectacular Vernacular, I have a scene with the witches rapping. It's part original text, and it's part adaptation, modernization.
Well, and this is so great. And as we've been talking, Gary, you've already got 2 drawings done, haven't you?
Yes, let me. I'll bring up the other camera again, and I'll go back to where I was. So the first one was. Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Oh,
There it is. Devon leaping tall
wow.
buildings in a single bound.
Leaping buildings, microphone in hand, Sonnet
Oh,
Man,
yes.
and I think.
Yes.
And then
Oh
the other
my
one
gosh.
was it was MC Will.
Ah.
MC Will dropping the mic like dropping a quill.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So there you go.
The quill. Wow.
So there we go.
Oh my gosh.
We got
That
so
might
I
be some
love
new
it.
tattoo art. That looks like body art right there. I might have to check that out.
So how do you mix it up with the sonnets? Because sometimes you do them straight, and then sometimes straight, but with a backbeat. But sometimes, but then you go off and you riff on them. How do you use the sonnets in what you do?
Well, the sonnets, I use the sonnets. There's 2 ways I use the sonnets. One way I use the sonnet is each sonnet could be represented as a song, because as a sonnet man, I take Shakespeare's words as if, when you hear a Sonnet Man song, like for instance, Sonnet 29, the first verse would be Shakespeare, and it would be in sonnet form. And since he writes in iambic pentameter, it's just the way that he writes and the cadence that he writes, you can fit that to a contemporary beat. The second verse would be my modernized version, the way I write as a rapper, and I don't write in Elizabethan style. I write in my own style. So I would rap it just so you would have 2 different versions. And it's basically the whole idea as a Sonnet Man is, if I was to read, Shakespeare's words to anybody, a regular person that does not really read or study Shakespeare, their first question would be, what did you just say? So I'm trying to modernize it. So my second verse is basically modernizing Shakespeare. But I usually write in my own way just to show the difference, just to show the differences. So that's one way I write it. Like each sonnet is represented as a song.
Well, and I love too that when you do the sonnets, you do it first the way Will wrote it, and then in your own vernacular, because then sometimes you'll go back to the way Will wrote it, and then the listener hears it now in a new way because they've heard you interpret it. Does your mind sometimes get blown by some of your students who interpret a sonnet in a way you had never thought of?
Oh, yes. I keep the first thing I tell my students whenever I'm writing or whenever we're breaking down a sonnet or we begin a workshop, I usually tell them this is more of a forum than a class. If you had 10 different Shakespeareans here, if me and you, even though I follow your work and I love listening to you, if we were to teach back-to-back classes on Sonnet 130, you will tell them something different than what I would say, even though we know the meaning, what Shakespeare is trying to say. Based on how you take it, based on how it comes to you, you might say something different. So I tell my students, this is all opinionated. So if I'm gonna tell you what based on my research, based on the books, I've read 100 different Shakespearean books about Sonnet 130. There are 100 different ways, 100 different ideas about what is he talking about, who is he talking about. The good thing about Shakespeare is, again, there are no linear notes in these sonnets. These were published after he passed. There are no quotes coming from him about who is he talking about, why did he write it. So, and this is a reason why we can adapt and interpret it in different ways. So they inspire me. Like whenever I can give them one sonnet, whether it's Sonnet 18, and I can give him Sonnet 18, which he's comparing somebody to a sunny day, and the consensus is usually he thinks you look good. He thinks you look hot like a sunny day. That's just me paraphrasing it, right? But to bring this to a school, some of them may, some people will think of it subjectively, like, why are you calling me hot? Why it has to be about looks? Some people look at the sun as a bad thing. Some people will switch it and write a response. Some people will compare them to a rainy day. There's so many you see so many different elements, and I'll give them an option. I'll give them like a couple of options just in case they're stuck and they don't have any ideas. Because it's usually on the fly whenever I get them to write. But the ideas that they have, the ideas that they write, the ideas that they come up with without my assistance is so inspiring. And I'm sort of happy that, I'm actually planted for a couple months, because usually when I'm on the road, I see these like all the time, and I get inspired, but I'm usually on the road just moving and doing work. But now I get to like sit and take it in, and I've been creating pieces for them, like videos for them to keep, after the residency, just for memories. They are amazing. And there are thousands of different versions of Sonnet 18, just based off my workshop alone. I know there are other workshops where teachers have students rewriting Shakespeare's work. Trying to find the next bard. That's my goal. I want to find the next bard. So in 24-20, will be this is the plague right now, right? So when they write their piece, and 400 years later, this is going to be their King Lear. Like when Shakespeare wrote, I keep hearing that Shakespeare wrote two. What was it? I forgot the two plays that I keep seeing this meme that during a plague in 1600 Shakespeare wrote two plays. This could be their time right now. 24-20, this could be them. So I'm trying to find the next bard.
Well, and I think in the plague of 1591, 1592, that's when he wrote Venus and Adonis, and I think A Lover's Complaint too. Wow. So he was also spitting out rhymes, as the kids say.
Yes.
Back during that plague.
Spitting out rhymes. The thing I always tell them, I give them the option to cheat, and by cheat I mean when I show them the format of the sonnets. 154 sonnets. With the exception of 3 of those sonnets, they're all in the same format. 14 lines, every line's iambic pentameter. The rhyme scheme is the same, with the exception of 3. So I always ask them, how long would it take for you to write 154 of them? They go 100 years. And then you look at like Venus and Adonis or A Lover's Complaint, which is that those long pieces all in the same format. I said, could you imagine writing a story like that and in the same format? But it's just about, again, Shakespeare, it's just the methods that he used is, he uses a lot of methods that connect to hip hop. There's so many different authors that use like nice, quirky methods that I think pique student interest, and I think can present a challenge. Students think Dr. Seuss is the easiest thing to write just because of the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme is A. But then when we talk about the like one line has 5 syllables, then 6 syllables, 5 syllables, 6 syllables. So I'll ask them, all right, try to write a quatrain, and that just, same rhyme scheme as Dr. Seuss, where you and use the same syllable pattern structure that he used, and try to make a story that makes sense and is funny and is relatable for kids and is interesting for adults, because Dr. Seuss wrote for all ages. Dr. Seuss is timeless. So and his style is very simple compared to Shakespeare. So I mean, there's so many different authors and poets that you can get some traits from or learn some traits from. I just happen to use Shakespeare because, even in his plays, he uses a lot of music. I only rap because I can't sing. If I could sing, I'd be a singer. But Shakespeare wrote a lot of songs in his work, and with the patterns and the meters and the cadence that he used in his work, that's the reason why I believe it works well with rap.
I love it. And there's Will writing during his plague.
He's got his mask on, and it's saying "A plague on all our houses."
Yes, the plague. Oh my gosh, the plague. That's kind of how it felt here. I was like, you know what? I need to finish my masterpiece.
Finish your Lear. Yeah.
Finish my Lear.
And if I'm gonna come out of this with any sort of feeling of productivity and not a total waste of time. I've had to sort of focus up, and it's as you were saying, Devon, too. I mean, not just the pandemic, but the social justice protests has given a focus to my work in terms of theme, in terms of, what are we writing about? We should be writing about what's going on. We should be dealing with what's going on. And even if I'm writing a comedy or you're writing songs, that doesn't mean that the importance of those themes, the importance of the stuff that we're all dealing with, doesn't enter into the work. In fact, in a comedy, it grounds the work even more strongly.
That happened with Shakespeare too, didn't it? I mean, he couldn't be as explicit about what was going on at the time because of the sort of laws and stuff. But the way we can date the works often is by these oblique references to stuff that was happening in society at the time, is how they can date a lot of the plays, So he was doing it too. Going back to the thing about us, you following on a tradition, he was an artist and he was reflecting his times as well. So I think we all have that obligation, don't we, as artists, to reflect the times we live in.
Actually, to add on, one thing that was inspiring for me to get back to work was companies reaching out and wanting to collaborate. I've been, while writing and been studying and trying to complete more sonnets, there's actually a Shakespearean sonnet that he could have written it yesterday, and it's about the social injustices. It could have been, it fits literally today, but the only thing is you would need a thesaurus to understand that it fits today. But it's like I mean, and it's not just for like the US. It's feel like what's been going on, throughout the whole globe. So I've been working on trying to find more parts from his canon that connects to today. Today's situation, today's, what this experiment that it feels like we're in. So yeah, you're right.
I love how you're both drawing on Shakespeare and drawing on current events.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about Shakespeare is the thing that connected me with Shakespeare is the way that he the adaptations were able to connect to different age groups and different societies, different demographics. When I first was asked to teach Shakespeare, I didn't want to do it. As an adult, I was like, oh, I can't believe I signed up for this. I was asked to teach Othello, and I was, at first it was, I know the story of Othello. It was just a matter of how am I going to get these students interested in Othello if I'm not interested in Othello? And the thing that piqued my interest was there's a high school version of Othello called named O, which I love. And I know students will love if they were able to watch it. And from the moment that I realized that I had it on VHS, aging myself, VHS, when I started reading it, that's like the references, or if there was like a word or a phrase that I did not understand, I would think to the movie. I would think to a production that I remember seeing when I was younger, and I would immediately get the reference because I understood it without even having to pick up a thesaurus. And then on top of that, that's when I started noticing that there was a rhythm to some of the scenes, some of the parts that the characters were speaking. That was my first connection to Shakespeare, Othello.
We should definitely wrap up with a little rap from Devon. You're welcome. But first, if people want more information about how to book you or bring you to their classroom virtually, go to your website. Is that the best way to do it?
Yes. Feel free to follow. Feel free to visit sonnetman.com. Also feel free to email me sonnetmannyc@gmail.com. Thank you. This has been great. It's always great talking Shakespeare.
Us and about 20 people who listen to it agree with you.
I think our numbers are skyrocketing well into the double figures.
Well into the several. You mentioned Sonnet 18, of course, and you mentioned about how it starts off, the Companion Summer's Day, and then you do your version of it. Would that be a good one? Because it's such a famous one. Would that be a good one to finish up on? Because it's great stuff anyway, and it's one that people recognize. So it'd be nice to hear what you do with that, frankly.
Okay, so I'll do Shakespeare's version of Sonnet 18, and then I'll do my version of Sonnet 18.
Okay.
Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag that wanders in his shade. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Here's the translation. You remind me of the weather in the middle of June. So nice, no clouds in the sky. It always seems like summer's ending too soon. So my limited time, I want to spend it with you. Every good thing ends. I'm going to pretend that your godly skin won't be gone with the wind. The forces of nature could change you, transform an angel to a complete stranger. In hindsight, your beauty helps my eyesight. So I write insights about your highlights. It's written in stone, so no one could rewrite. Please come and be my sunny delight. You're the perfect memory I don't want to throw away. I write about your beauty so it never goes away. My love is immortal. My thoughts are eternal. Your looks are forever. I wrote it in my journal. Sonnet 18.
Oh, man.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh.
The muse was so hot, I was tongue-tied.
Every good thing ends indeed. Thank you, Devon.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, Austin and Gary. I'm so happy to have met a new friend.
Oh, you too, man.
New collaborator. Your artistry is amazing. Wow.
Oh, bless you, sir. I'm just doing a little, finishing off with a little picture of you and the man there together, sharing a mic.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
Fabulous.
There we go.
I like it. Wow.
My mistress, eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are done? If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damaged red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any sheep allied with false compare. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any sheep allied with false compare. My mistress, think about her. Can I speak about her? I can't be without her. I can't breathe without her. I'm not myself. I cannot be me without her. I feel sick without her. I can't live without my hopes. Think about her. Can I speak about her? I can't be without her. I can't breathe without her. I'm not myself. I cannot be me without her. I feel sick without her. I can't live without my mistress. Mrs. Eliminate my stress. The list is endless. The reason she's my best. Her personality fits perfect with my mindset. Unconditionally, her loving is priceless, while mine is infinite. Our love is limitless. Yeah, she has a pretty face, got a few blemishes. Beauty mark, movie star under the surface. She's worth it. It's the flaws that make her perfect. When she speaks, I know music has a sweeter tone, and sometimes she smells like she wants to be alone, but it's me and her alone. No, she doesn't have the glow, but every time I vision her, I write another ode. My mistress, misunderstood, misrepresented. The total package, the girl is heaven sent. She's never misleading. Take me out my misery. My mistress, my love for her is not a mystery. Always think about her. Can I speak about her? I can't be without her. I can't breathe without her. I'm not myself. I cannot be me without her. I feel sick without her. I can't live without my. Always think about her. Can I speak about her? I can't be without her. I can't breathe without her. I'm not myself. I cannot be me without her. I feel sick without her. I can't live without my mistress. Eyes are nothing like the sun. I can't be without her. I can't breathe without her. Coral is far more red than her lips red. I feel sick without her. I can't live without my mistress. Me, I am her mister, and she is my missus. When she's gone, I miss her. Make no mistakes with her, there is no mistrust or miscues with us. You can't misplace this love, Miss Love. I am on a mission to give her what she's missing. No misprint, listen, I've gone the distance with my mistress thus far, and that's cause she's never misused my heart. My mistress, we might be a mismatch, but when together with her, there are no mishaps. A couple misfits passed and thought she was misfortune. Fitting that I picked my fortune while they missed on it. In the foreign eye, she seems disorganized. See, the public is quick to misjudge, and I get emotional when I talk about my missy. I'm not tearing, I just get a little misty. Always thinking about her. Can I speak about her? I can't be without her. I can't breathe without her. I'm not myself, I cannot be me without her. I feel sick without her. I can't live without my mistress. Clear my ST.